Hey everybody, it's Matt. Welcome to A Fat White Guy Explains America to you from my point of view. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. And today we're going to talk about something that maybe sparks a little bit of your interest. China. Let's talk about China from a middle America point of view. So, you want to talk about China? Let's talk about China. Now, we're going to talk. Now, I'm going to warn you now. Some of you people that are mainstream Republican and mainstream Democrat, just go ahead and tune out right now because, by God, you don't want to hear this. It's going to talk negatively about both you boys, Trump and Biden, and it's going to talk badly about both your parties. You call me a rhino, a dino, whatever you want to call me, okay? It's perfectly fine. Go ahead and throw your QAnon bullshit out there at me. All right, I can take it. All right, but today, I'm going to tell you about China and America's China problem, and it starts right here in Middle America. Let's get into this. Pretend for a minute you're a farmer. And let's just say you got a lot of debt. And let's just say you haven't been making a whole lot of money over the past few years because, well, the American politicians and the American bank and the American big corporate agribusiness stacked a lot against you, you know. Let's just say that, for instance. That's what's happened to a lot of people, right? And then all of a sudden, you want to retire. You want to live a good life. You get kind of old, you know. You want to kind of take it easy a little bit, right? Well, your kids, we're going to give this farm to your kids, you know. Yeah, but they suffer from this thing called brain drain, a lot of them, you know, which is fine. It happens to a lot of us. I'm a product of brain drain. I am brain drain, okay? I left, didn't come back until many years later. I'm part of the problem, okay? But let's think about this. So let's just put yourself in the shoes of this farmer. Your kids have left. You have nobody to leave your farm to. They don't want to be farmers. I didn't want to be a farmer. Ain't nobody want to be a farmer, right? Younger generation, they see a little bit more to it than that, right? So you sell your land. You put your land up for sale, okay? Then you start getting some offers, and you got a lot of debt, like I say, you know, because you've been a farmer. You know, you live in debt, right? You live in debt cycles, you know. And maybe you've got a little money back in savings and stuff, you know, but it's not enough, you know. It's not nearly enough, right? Because, you know, you have inflation and stuff, you know, and maybe you played your cards pretty well, right? You know, we're not talking about one of these farmers that went and played the corporate game, you know. We're talking about, you know, real independent, true blue farmers, you know, who stayed true to everything. Not these, you know, people who, you know, yeah, you know the kind I'm talking about, right? Okay. So anyway, fast forward this. You start getting some offers. Well, the banks don't want to offer you a lot of money, and buyers don't want to offer you a lot of money. They're, you know, American way, you know, get as cheap as you can get it. You know, Jew them down, as they say. You know, is that the politically incorrect term to use? You know, cut them down. Get them as low as you can get them, you know? Right? Well, then, in walks Chinese investment company. Won't buy you property. Okay? Let's just say they offer you, everybody else been offering you about $500,000 for your property. You know, let's just say, easy figuring. They offer you about $500,000, okay? Then in walks the Chinese investors, okay? And they've got little sub-companies, you know, based in like Switzerland and Monaco and these different little principalities, you know, little countries. Wherever they're based at, right? They come in, they want to give you $1 million cash for your property. Best offer you've gotten. Best offer you've gotten. What are you going to do? Are you going to say no to $1 million? It's the best offer you've gotten. Are you going to turn the Chinese farmer or the Chinese investment company down just off of principle? Just because, well, that's America. And this is American land, American property, and I love America. But you know that you may live another 25, 30 years and you want to leave a good nest egg, for your family. You want to leave something behind. What are you going to do? You going to take the lowball American investment company offer? You going to take the lowball offer from the developer? You going to take the lowball offer from the bank? Or you going to take the Chinese money? What are you going to do? You see, that's not the Chinese problem. You see? No. I know what you're going to think this, right? You're thinking, well, damn, Chinese. It's not. You see? The Chinese are just playing by the rules that capitalism created. You see, the rules are the same for their company as it is my company. And maybe a little more strict for a Chinese company, but the rules are the same. You see, the communists, the CCP, they're using capitalism as a weapon against you. Now, we're not to be blamed for this because, well, we've been playing by the same rules that we've been playing by for years. Keep the farmer poor, keep him working, keep him in debt, keep him going, keep him growing stuff, give him the crumbs, keep him in the debt cycle. Well, for the first time in your life, somebody's giving you $1 million. What are you going to do? It's capitalism. The Chinese, the CCP, are playing capitalism. Imagine that. See, put yourself in the shoes of that farmer. Put yourself in the shoes of that family who needs that money to get through the next 20, 30, 40 years maybe. Put yourself in that situation. They can pay off their debt. They can do different things, Yeah, put yourself in their shoes. Of course they're going to sell out to whoever comes with the most money. So who's really hurting who? The American looking for the best possible deal because I got to get a deal. Or the Chinese who are willing to, the Chinese investment companies who are willing to come in here and throw around some money. Don't hate the farmer for taking the money. Hate the politicians who kept this farmer in debt and the bankers hate them for keeping this guy in a debt cycle. You see, those are the people you need to blame. Instead, we just keep electing their bullshit asses to office and blaming everything on the Chinese Communist Party or whatever. You see, the reality of it is it's not the Chinese Communist Party. It's the politicians. Let's talk about this for a minute, okay? Let's go back a few years, corn or whatever, So, you see, the Chinese who were buying a lot of American corn said, we want this corn. We don't want GMO corn, say, right? This is the corn that we want. Well, the American corporate farmers, keyword there, corporate, American agri companies who were corporates said, well, no, Mr. China. We can do GMO corn cheaper and blah, 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 yada, yada, blah, 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 selling a bunch of chickens, Well, the Chinese said, we don't want it. We don't want it. So the Americans, in our arrogance, say, well, let's just grow it and they'll have no choice but to buy it from us. We'll force them into it. What does China do? China goes to Brazil. And China strikes a deal with them. And China says, you know what? Here's the kind of corn we want to buy. Here's the strain we want. Here's the quality we need. Here's this and that and the other, right? Would you grow it for us? And we'll buy it for you. We'll buy it from you. Guess what the Brazilians did? Oh, Lula. Oh, Lula wasn't so stupid. You see, we thought old Lula was stupid, you see. Old Lula and them down there in Brazil, they wasn't so stupid. He said, sure. Most certainly we will. Most certainly we will do it. And so companies like Cargill and ConAgra and all them, they just haul ass down there to Brazil, and they start, growing that corn down there in Brazil, and they start selling it to the Chinese market. Good old companies like Cargill and ConAgra and all them, they loyal to the American farmer, right? Till they weren't. You see how this works? You see how this works? So now back to the story. Old Paul Harvey said, the rest of the story, So let's get back to this. Are the Chinese really the enemy here? Or is the system that we created really the enemy? Lights come on, right? So who's the bigger enemy? China or the American politician and the banker? You follow me? That's how a fat white guy in middle America looks at this. You see, you have this impression that we're all, either a bunch of, commie Biden voters or right-wing redneck Trumpers, It's not the case. Most of us realize that there's idiocy in both sides of the foolish game. And we're the ones left paying the price. I'm Matt. I'm just a fat white guy in America trying to explain it all to myself. And this is just the way I see it. If you don't believe me, go and check the facts out for yourself from unbiased news sources. And I'm not talking about, the typicals, like your OAN bullshit and all that. Don't go out there. Go to places like U.S. Farm Report, Go look at the real stuff, where places where real people who aren't necessarily politically beholden get our news, Maybe you should go and check that out. I'm Matt. I'm just a fat white guy in America trying to explain the world to you. We'll talk to you again soon. Hey, be sure, subscribe. I hope I explained the China thing to you well enough. It's pretty simple if you think about it.